Okay, today is part 2 of our painting madness. And it is madness because we are making this up as we go. We are following our feelings, not the rules. We are following our feelings, okay? And we are going to finish off with something. Oh, can you see it? You can't see it. Oh, no, you'll have to wait and watch the video. See you in a minute. Enjoy the painting, okay? And remember, keep it fun. See you soon. Bye. Well, good morning to part 2 to our lovely fox. And we are going to add some more color. And as again, I'm just going to go back and explain that my painting style is my painting style. It is probably very different to the painting style that you are used to. And this is my painting style in the way that it expresses my feelings for me. Okay? And this is something that as people have been asking, and I thought I would just kind of show you some of the styles. This is not the only style that I've got. I'm just going to put down a little bit of water here to kind of get a nice feeling of where I'm going to start. And I like just to soak it up a little bit, just to kind of and be careful with your ink here, because I know I've talked a lot about Winsor Newton ink and other companies like that, and sometimes their Indian ink does actually bleed a little bit into the, and that's me just kind of getting a feeling for it. And I like this because it kind of gives me a base. And the Winsor Newton will slightly grey any colours that you've put in there. And so be careful with some of these colours, okay? Be careful with them. And what we're going to try and do is we're just going to try and dip in some colours. And I love this idea of starting off with some purple behind. And again, I'm being very, very loose with my colours because there's a certain mood that I'm trying to capture here. And I'm trying to kind of bleed it in to begin with. Yes, I know you should tape your paper down and you should blah, 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 blah. You should this and you should that. And that is a lot of, if you want something very flat and very controlled, I don't want anything controlled. I want my drawing to control me. I want my drawing to guide me. I want this drawing to have a loose, natural feel. And that is what I'm trying to achieve. And by doing this approach, and by letting myself explore the drawing and not dictating it. And what I like to do is sometimes I got some little looseness coming down there with the blues. And that, again, just adds a little bit of life to it. And green is another one. I'm trying to bring in some more greens to the base of this. And that already is telling me that there's this life to my drawing. And I'm going to let that settle while I watch it. Now, the whole point about this way of drawing, there's a little bit too much there. I'm going to just soak that up. It's getting a little bit into my red and I don't want that. A little bit about this wild way of painting, this wild way of letting your picture control, is that with any wild subject, with any wild animal, you've got to guide. You've got to keep an eye on it. Okay? That doesn't mean control. That means keep an eye on it. If something starts to build up and something starts to go in an ugly way, you've got to keep, that's why I keep touching up. Just wherever I feel things are going the wrong direction, touch it up. Feel it. And that way you get a lot more control on your picture. Now I'm going to let that settle and let that dry. And I might go away for a couple of minutes and wait for it to dry a little bit further. But at the moment, I'm going to start picking up some of these points where I wasn't so happy in the drawing. And I'm going to start adding. Now this gets a very dangerous stage here, because some of the painting I use inks, and sometimes I use them directly as ink, and I add the ink in to basically for a little bit more of a vibrant color. So what I tried to do is I have a little bit of a balance here with the ink for the vibrancy and for the watercolors to basically give me my color, give me my control. And then on top of that, I whack in some vibrant. Again, that's bleeding a little bit too much. What's happening there? Don't go into my red, please. And again, that's what we're doing. We're just keeping an eye. We're letting it go wild, and then we're pulling it back, like a little bit like a wild horse or something. We're letting it go wild. We're letting it control. We're letting it go where it feels, and giving us these patterns and giving us this beauty. And at the same time, we're going in there and we're saying, stop that, don't give me that, don't do that. And that way we have a beautiful, controlled, wild look to our image. So we're going to go in there and we're going to add a little bit more. I'm going to take one of my wet brushes. They just stay in there all the time. And now I'm starting to see, as the colors start to settle, I'm starting to feel I've lost a little bit of that kind of vibrancy. And I'm trying to think that maybe I should bring in a little bit more. Before I do my water, I'm going to try and bring in a little bit of my puke jar. Sorry about the name. But I'm going to try and bring in some of that grey. And this is just an old jar of leftover inks and leftover bits of whatever. And it kind of gives me a little bit of texture in there. And I love that. And I'm just trying to bring in a little bit of texture around the base. And that will lift the vibrancy of the picture by bringing the lovely blues and everything at the top, and then we're going to bleed it down into this grey, and that will it will basically start to lift the picture up. And I'm just going to fill that in a little bit more. I'm not happy with the too thick there, so I'm going to add a little bit of water in there to soften it down into that. Again, keep an eye on the control there. We don't want that to feed into our character at this point. So be ready with your tissue just to control it, just to say, whoa, don't do that, and we're just going to stop it. But we're going to keep that grainy texture that we were trying to bring in. And again, there's too much of the red coming across, but I like that kind of glow from the fox. I like that kind of glow effect. So I'm going to try and use a slightly bigger brush. And I'm going to try and bring in some of that texture back. And that will divide my character and the background a little bit more. And that really helps for me. That's kind of giving this misty morning feeling to it. And I love that. It's very, 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 very lovely. And I don't like to use too often, but I bring my blues in, and sometimes I just kind of spray it on just to kind of lift the grey back into the colour. And that will give a little bit of that vibrancy. Now I've got my purple, and it's just what one's this one? I've used some of these Ecoline ones. These Ecoline it's 507. It's a lovely kind of purple color. Sometimes I use it direct. Sometimes I just kind of take a drop and I let it bleed across. And that is if I need something a little bit more kind of strong in the painting. And again, I'm doing that to kind of give me that kind of texture of the night or the early morning as we're trying to get across here. And at the same time, I've got my watered down color, which will just give me a lot of vibrancy there on the top of the picture. And that already is starting to look so gorgeous. And that's really given me this lovely, the darks bleeding down into the greys. And again, I will top up my greys a little bit more as I start to watch the blues bleeding into the greys. We want that grey in there to lift the fox. At the moment, the fox on the white was very vibrant and very lively, but we're trying to bring that character back into being a little bit softer. And we'll whiten up the teeth and things like that a little bit later on. At the moment, I'm very pleased with the way that it's going. The control that I'm having on it. The textures that are building up on the background. And that's lovely. Got a few little bleeds down here next to the tail, which I'm just trying to siphon off a little bit. Anywhere that it gets a little bit too heavy, I try to control. I try and say, whoa, hang on. And I'm just trying to work some of that blue up there around the face. Again, I don't like it when it touches too much of the character. I like to kind of keep a little bit of distance from the character. And this is where we're trying to do. We're trying to build this thing up and very slow. And if you tape it all down, yes, you'll probably have a little bit more, like a flatter, more pretty type of control with it. But I never get into it. Very rarely I tape a drawing down. It's kind of like asking to have a wild horse and then tying it to some post. So we've got our water, we've got our puke jar, which is basically our mix up of textures that we've built up, and we've got our black, which is near on black. It's like a quarter black, and then we've got our watered out grey, and that is where I come in with basically a watered out. It will give me, you can see there, it's giving me a very gentle grey, and that's where I go in and I can touch up. My black or my mid black is when I come in and I need some help and I need to darken up something. I'm just going to control you, and that's where I bring in my mids when I want to get a nice rich darkness coming through, but not a black. Again, I'm just going to paint in some more of my grey from my light greys, and that's just, again, we're just kind of going in and touching up anywhere that we feel. And what that's going to do is that's going to, when that dries, it's going to be drying into a way that we're going to have a few surprises, but very few. Okay, we're trying to guide this, we're trying to control this, and as we wait and as it kind of takes its shape, we will start to see more and more places where we can bring up the color. I'm imagining I need a mid yellow there to warm up where the bees are, this midday glow, which I will bring in, but I'm just waiting for that blue to settle down a little bit more. And why I'm waiting for it to settle down, you put your blue, you put your yellow, you're going to have a mid green, and we've got to be careful with that when we're mixing colors. That's where these plates of grey come in for my absolute pleasure, that I can bring in a mid grey and darken something up, and it won't really affect the color. It will basically affect the mood, and that's very important in what I'm trying to achieve here. I'm getting a little bit more in there with around the tail, and that should soften down. It should give me this nice earthy kind of rise above. Right. While that's kind of settling, and we're just going to work on the base a little bit, and I'm going to bring in some simple old, cheap old paint. It's a little brush there. Let's try and take him out of that. And I always recommend having some kitchen towel to sit around when you're painting. I have rolls of kitchen roll everywhere. And you can just buy it in the shop. Just rolls of old kitchen roll, and you pull off a sheet, and it'll last you quite a while. You can get it in a supermarket, you get it in Tesco's or Aldi or Waitrose, wherever you go, and you just pick it up. And that's really starting to give us a lovely control. Just going to touch up a couple of little places around the teeth. And that's really starting to make me happy. I'm really starting to feel a lovely glow from our painting. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to be very, very, very expressive about our mood. And we're trying very much to let the colors guide us. And I feel a lot of times people are painting things up, and they're kind of going, well, I have to do this and I have to do this, and it kind of gets to the point where you're thinking, well, why? I'm just going to put down some green here at the base, just to kind of give me a very, very simple base green. Let's just take it out of there. Like I said, these paints are very, very cheap. They're only like, I don't know, they're like a £1 or £2, and they're probably more kind of, ooh. And I love them. I love them because they give me a really nice basic color without getting too intense, and that way that I can use my inks on top to really give me, you see, that's very washed out and very, very basic. And what I do is I kind of mix some of the dark greens with the light greens. Put my and this gives us a really lovely control. And we'll start to fill those in later on with our green. But right now we don't really need to. It'll help with the grey, but and if you're a painter, don't watch my videos. Because you'll be saying, oh my God, what is he doing there? Why is he doing that? Oh my God, no, he's not going to do that, is he? Oh no, he's added too much water there. And that's, you know, everybody, you need to start to teach yourself. You need to start to have a lot more faith in your own ability and less faith in all these people that are kind of teaching you their way of doing stuff. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to switch over, and I'm going to get a slightly bigger brush there now that I've kind of got that lovely control, and I'm just going to wash it across. And what it does is it's already given me my base color, and it'll just soften it down. And that mids in some of the darker colors on the side. And it'll kind of give us a lovely kind of dome effect of where he's sitting on this little hill. And that's looking nice. Now that's just a base color. We're working on bases here at the moment. And once these bases start to settle, once we've got more control on the base, then we can start to add those little details. The little details that everybody's so happy to have. Right, that's my water jug. Right, so we've got a little bit here. I'm a little bit weak on some of the red here. The eye and the ear and the tail. And I'm going to add a little bit more. Let's just take a small brush. And I'm going to add some base color. And again, I'm talking base colors here because I'm just talking about kind of filling that in a little bit. And we'll add some more inks on top to add some vibrancy to it. In fact, if I do that, I'll open my, what have I got here? A ruby. This is a ruby, and I love this, the vibrancy of these, the diamond inks. Where are we? The diamond inks. And they're vibrant, and they're very colorful, and they're very strong, and you need to be very careful how you use them. Let's just see if that's turned on. Sorry, I have to use my thumb on this to... And what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how, if I touch in, now can you see how vibrant that red's coming across there? From the red of the paint with just a touching up with the vibrancy of the red. And you can do that around here. We'll be adding a little bit more to that as we go, but it's going to give you a lovely highlighted color to your animal or your painting. And these inks are just delightful. Diamond ink, I think I just bought mine on Amazon. And that's a lovely... And they work really well. If you water them down, you can see how it just beautifully just washes into it. But I like that on top. I don't like that to dictate the painting. Sometimes you add that too much. It dictates the painting in a way that, well, it sometimes can come in a little bit too strong. I'm making it strong here on the end of the nose because it's going to be in there with all the wash around it. And I'm going to bring that in. And as I bring it in, I'm going to start watering it down. And that will bleed the colours back in to that so subtle and so blotchy paints that we had at the back there. And that really starts to make a very, very lovely effect. And that's really starting to feel nice. Right, back to that tail before I start getting carried away. I do that, sorry. Sometimes I get sometimes I get so kind of wrapped up in my own thinking and my own excitement, and I kind of get a little bit lost. I would say, oh, where was I? What was I talking about? Blah, blah, blah. So we need a little bit there with the arm. We're going to bring that back in. Now I really would like to paint the hands black, but I'm worried the hands will kind of disappear if I do. So I'm just going to leave them at the moment, and I'm going to start putting in some base color, the jaw, the ear, the eye, and I need a little bit of a base paint on there. And while we're doing that, we've got that lovely blues and purples giving us that's really starting to look lovely there. I might just touch up a little bit around that area there above the bees while it's still wet. Let me just touch up a little bit more with the blue just so that it doesn't lose the... Otherwise I've got a very hard line there which was very ugly. Anyway, as we're painting, as we're working on the eye, we're looking around. What is our water doing? What is our paint doing? How is it drying? Am I happy with this? Am I happy with that? And all the time I'm thinking about my yellow haze here in the middle. Will it still work? Have I put down too much blue? Well, that'll be us finding out later on. And again, we're just touching up around here on the jaw, but we don't want it to be as strong as that. We want it to be nice and soft. And the ear, we've got another red ear up here. And that's coming up nice. It's really starting to take shape. Especially now with our tail coming back in. And our arm. So we've got a very, very, very little toe missing down there. Touching up that. And here's we're starting to get some of the lovely colours coming in. adding the water to bleed it down and soften it off. Don't be too afraid of your water. I know a lot of people get very for me, some of these kind of patches and blotches add a lot to my character, add a lot to the overall effect. I'm just going to touch up a little bit more there because I'm starting to feel that there's no divide there between them. I'm just trying to bring that up. And again, I'll just water that down, and that will give me another break there, another kind of patchiness, which is again part of what I love. I love this. I'm going to probably touch in a little bit more with the inks. And again, you'll probably find that a lot of people will shy away from mixing the inks and the paint, but there's a lot to be said about bringing in the vibrancy of one other medium to help another medium. Another one is charcoal. I use charcoal a lot with some of the greys that I've got going on in this kind of area over here. I might even bring in a little bit of charcoal if I don't feel it's like graying up enough to bring me forward. And so far we've got everything that's starting to work out. So I think we're gonna just add a little bit more purple. I'm just going to add a little more drop of the eco line just so I can intense up. It's that same eco line with this beautiful kind of purple effect. I'm just going to give it a little darker, couple of drops. That's all you really need with these. These are beautiful little paints. Eco line. If you haven't tried them, they're like a vibrant watercolor. Look at the vibrancy of that. Look, even that's watered down only a couple of drops. It's starting to really bleed into my... That's beautiful. I love that. And it just soaks in. But it gives this color that's just so addictive. Again, I'm not sponsored by anybody, so if I tell you that some kind of ink is crap, well, it's just me telling you. If I tell you something's beautiful, it's just my opinion. And these eco lines are absolutely delicious. And what I'm doing is I'm putting in the purple, and then as you can see there with my purple and my blue, and I'm trying to add in some of the purple, and then underneath that I'm bringing in the blues, and it's like a soft, very kind of cloudy kind of feeling coming down there, and I'm really excited by that. I'm really excited the way that the dark purples are kind of sitting on top of the blues. I'll bring a little bit more purple on that side, and that really does give me so much excitement there. And again, before we kind of touched up with some of the drops on the top. And again, that's another way of using these eco lines. Again, you can kind of, once you've got a little bit of control, you can kind of just like drop a couple of little, and they will basically, now don't let them just run wild. Guide them, stop them. You see, you've got to guide them. Don't put them in there and think they're going to be doing all the magic for you. You've got to go in there and start controlling all this wildness. You've got to start saying, whoa, your horses. You've got to start controlling these wild feelings. And then if you do control it, and you're keeping your eye, then you start having some lovely effects. And that already is starting to have this beautiful sky behind this wild fox. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go in and start doing some little details. I'm going to soften down that a little bit there. I'm just trying to work out how much darker I need to go around the base of the eye, because I really want to kind of give that early morning feeling to him. You got up a little bit too early in the morning. Don't we all? I was up at 6 o'clock this morning doing some sketching for some idea that I've got. My God, really. I need to get myself a real job. Oh, what a beautiful life it is being an artist. Right, this is just starting to look at the tail. We've got to bring ourselves away. Don't get too lost. Whoa, going wild up there. Let's pull that back. That's not what we want, wild horse. That's it. Watching what you've put down while you're getting excited by the tail. I was going back to the tail. It's like that tail is now damp, and that's a beautiful time for us to just kind of bring in some nice and let that soak in. That tail is just on the edge of drying off, and it's just blotching down. Same with those ears. I just noticed they're at that stage as well. And we're going straight in with the ink on this just to get a nice vibrancy over the head. And like I'm trying to say, don't be afraid of the color. You got to get rid of that fear. Now, I'm wondering if there's a lovely orange there with the eco lines, because I love to bring in some orange. What have we got there? This is a 3-1 eco line. Okay, give them a little shake and see what kind of vibrancy we got there with the orange, because I'd love to bring in some oranges there. What have we got there? Let's just test that on the... Ooh, okay. So I'm just going to test that out on the belly. And that might be a little bit too... Where's my brush? Again, that's starting to feed into my grey. We don't want that. Control it, pull it back. We'll add some grey on that after once it's dried. Let's just see if that orange is going to be light enough. Water, bleach it out. More water, and then just bleach it back into the paint. And by blending that in, you will have a lovely soft feeling once it dries. And you'll have these lovely divide lines that come up. And they will look so spectacular once they kind of bleed into everything. And you can already see some of these dry lines that come in here. That's adding so much to our character. Now, I'm going to see if there's an eco yellow. There we are. 205 is the eco yellow. And I'm just seeing if that... I'm just going to add a little bit of that just to kind of see if it'll soften down on it. Oh, that's nice. That is very nice. And sometimes I use the pipette on it. Sometimes just to kind of give me an instant effect onto an area. And that is absolutely gorgeous. That yellow has come through so beautiful. That little highlight, and although it doesn't look much at this moment, that little highlight is going to be so beautiful. In fact, I'm going to try and see if I can put a couple of touches in there and just wash that in. Oh, yes, 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 yes. Now, I wish now they had a little bit more of the yellow on here, but I think it's too late. I think we've chosen our orange, but I'm gonna blend it in and see if it'll push it across, because that's just so gorgeous. And this is what it's all about. This excitement that we're getting. You know, the excitement that we get when we're putting down colors and we're building something up. It's like as much excitement as we have, it's going to come through in the final painting. Just touching up a couple of blotches and bleeds that are getting a little bit too much. And that is just beginning to really excite me. That is starting to look so rich. And I'm just trying to highlight a few little places. And I was really unhappy with the top of this. And I'm just wondering if that will, my yellow will help me there to highlight some of that. And I'm wondering if it will. Oh, that is so lovely. You see, this is what's beautiful about having this control over your painting, or your painting controlling you, whichever way you want to have it around. But this is so beautiful. It's building up as we're painting, and we have just created it in front of here. We're just feeling and thinking, I want yellow, I want orange, I want this, I want that, and we're adding it as we go. And so far, this, oh, got a little bit of a run there. That's okay. Take it up. We'll paint over it, and we'll put some green back down there. Shouldn't be too bad, but we just want to stop some of these bleeds. Checking our painting, fine, we're happy. And what we've got there is we've got some beautiful. Now I'm so excited with that. I'm just thinking, can I add that to the end of his tail? And I don't want to water it down too much, but I want to use this. Again, this is an absolute gorgeous color. It's Ecoline 205. Woo! That is beautiful. And I'm just going to water it down. Oh, yes. Now that is absolutely gorgeous. So this is basically giving you this kind of lovely excitement that you're going to bring up. And the way that it's starting to work is it's starting to excite me so much about all the highlight parts that I was thinking about doing in white. And I didn't want the white, and now I'm starting to add some of this yellow into it. Oh, that is beautiful. And this is adding so much beauty to this painting. It's just weakened down now. And it's just absolutely made this painting explode with beauty. That, oh, I'm loving this. All right. Let's just have a little pot, and we'll try and add some into the. That's so nice. That has really come across to be a stunning color. I haven't used this yellow actually. I haven't used this too much, but I will definitely be using it in the future. And the excitement about all of this is that you can get a whole line of these eco colors for I can't remember, like I think it's about £18 or something, £20. Beautiful. That's lovely. And I'm really starting to feel. So what I'm hoping you're going to get from this is the fact that the vibrancy that we're trying to bring into these colors, and we're trying to mute down certain areas and then bring in this vibrant color so that it will kind of make certain areas of your painting just explode with beauty. And that head now, that head for me, I'm going to just, it's getting a little bit too yellowy on that side, and I'm just going to try and bring in a little bit of red. And again, that's just going to balance over this big cheek, this big smiling cheek that he has there on that side. And that again will enhance all that on that side with right. I'm not going to do any more with the ruby. I'm going to wash that out. And now it does kind of, over this process, you will start finding a tinge of water. Keep your water clean. If it does start to affect a lot of the colors and stuff like that you're doing on it, please stop. Please just guide yourself and go and get some water. But at the moment, I'm really loving what's happening with the blue sky behind him. I'm going to touch up some of the teeth, so we've got some nice white, bright teeth. I'm a little bit disappointed with the arms and the hand, and I'm just going to have a look and see if I can. I've got ox blood. What else have I got there? I've got Monaghan. Monaghan red is a nice one as well. That's a diamond. Can you see that? And I use these a lot as well. And sometimes the redness in that can kind of, yeah, look at that. The red in this is kind of giving me a little bit of almost a shadow feeling to it, and it just again will highlight up any or shadow down any parts of that. That's what I was thinking about, maybe with the arm. And I'm just trying to see how it will. Oh, it's beautiful. My God. Whoever invented inks is the most gorgeous person on earth. Does anybody know where inks have all kind of come from? I'd love to know. It's definitely the most gorgeous liquid on earth, that's for sure. Look how much that has helped my orange and my yellow there. That is so cool. That has really lifted it by bringing that shadow on and lifting the orange on that side. Beautiful. So sorry, my camera has stopped on the other one. Why, I don't know. Excuse me for 1 second. And this is what's so exciting about doing these paintings. And it really does. Now, I'm just wondering now, let's keep that clean. We're going on there with some of the colours there before, and I'm just thinking, that yellow on the bees, could that just have a little bit more of a lift? Again, I'm using the pipette, but, you know, I'm trying not to make it too precise and too exacting on what we're doing. Lovely. Right, so there we are at an almost stage. All I need to do is a few touch-ups with the teeth. I really want to make those a little bit more, and I'm just wondering if I should kind of, since I'm so in love with the yellow, should I go with the yellow? Let's just try a little. And maybe I'll add some white ones in there as well. And this is again just giving us this feeling of this gorgeous happy fox first thing in the morning and his bright yellow teeth. I think that's, you know, as you kind of get older, I think it's actually the only thing that kind of bugs me is as you get older, your teeth kind of don't get so white. That's something that really bugs me. I'm not worried about hair loss, and I'm not worried about getting a bit chubby. But, well, you know, if your teeth kind of start to lose a bit of color, that bugs me a little bit. That sounds so vain. And we're just basically touching in there with the teeth, just trying to get some And again, we've got that red blotch from earlier on, which is a little bit of a shame, but I think I was talking too much and lost. But it doesn't really affect it. We can touch it up a little bit later on with some white and but all right. So I just saw a brown ink that I bought by mistake. And I'm terrible with things like mistakes because I'm very Irish in my thinking, and you know there's no such thing as a mistake. So if you wanted to buy red ink and you bought brown, then you're gonna use it some point, you know. So and I haven't really used brown. I'm not a fan of brown. One of the least colors of my life, but it works lovely on the end of his nose. What was the ink? Oh, that was a Waterman's ink, that one, I think. There you are. Waterman's ink. Again, it's not bad. I used to buy a lot of their reds. I still have a few jars of Waterman's inks. They have a lovely red texture to some of the inks. I can't off the top of my head remember what the red was. There it is. It was Rouge. They just called it Rouge. That's the red, and I love that one. I've gone through so many jars of that. I really couldn't count. It was one of the early inks that I bought. Just looking at our drawing and checking, and that ink, I bought so many jars of Waterman's red ink. So if you see some of my early drawings and stuff, the red in that will almost sure be Waterman's red. Waterman's Rouge. Lovely. So, we've got a few little touch-ups left to do. Just put that back on there because I never put my terrible habit of never putting my jars back. When I touch up, I use just a regular old Tipp-Ex, nothing amazing and nothing special. And I just have a big blotch on the eye and I don't like it. Let's just clean that off. And that's just for very minimal things, like if it's on an eye and I put a blotch on the eye, I don't like it. Or if I want an extreme highlight on something, for example, like maybe with the nose, we could just put a little highlight like that. But other than that, I try to stay away from using white. Now that has helped. Have you seen now how that's starting to settle? The orange on the hands has started to settle. And that's come up very, very nice. And our yellows has made that body so, so, so beautiful. And I'm just going to touch up a little bit more with the red. Let's wash that out. And I just want a little bit more darkness under that, all that lovely yellow that we've got going on there. And why I'm doing that is I want a little bit more of a shadow on the top of that. And I'm just using the Monaghan red there. And I'm just trying to get a little bit more of that. And again, the red around the eyes hasn't really darkened up. And the Monaghan red is actually really quite nice, so I'm going to touch that up. The base of the ear I'm going to touch up. So it's all little details at this moment. There's nothing much left. We've pretty much done our fox. We're very happy with our fox. And we are pretty much there. And I'm going to just bleed that off a little bit. Beautiful. So that is basically our fox. Now, as you sit here now, this point is a crucial point because everything is now damp. And that is the time when you need to fine tune everything. Now, going around, see there, little anythings, the yellow has started to bleed out. Okay, I don't like that. So I'm going to bleach that, blotch that off with my kitchen towel. And I'm going to bring in a little bit more of my grey to feed that back up. Because as the grey starting to get a little bit light down here. And that's just my my blotchy grey. It's nothing, no special ingredient. I shouldn't say that, should I? I should say it's my secret ingredient. That's my secret ingredient, like KFC, you know, it's like, it's a homegrown ingredient. You can only buy it on Amazon for £55 million. That would do. That would work really good, wouldn't it? That would get me some. That would get me some sales on Etsy. Good point. Go over to Etsy. Go and have a look at my prints. I'll try and get the fox up there at some point. So if you like today's drawing, you can go over and buy a print or a postcard or something. And if you want it on a t-shirt or something, let me know and I'll sort something out. And that is today's drawing. I will wait for it to dry, and then what I will do is I will show you some of the final parts of it, and just see how it is dried off. There'll be some slight changes when it dries. Some of the colors will dull and some of the colors will kind of richen out, but it should be very much. You'll see some of the blotching there that's starting to appear on the face, which is gorgeous. So that is the end of the fox on part 2, and I really hope you have enjoyed this. Not a lesson, but a guide into don't follow rules. Explore your painting. Explore yourself. You know? When you're putting it like this all blotchy kind of effect here, I love it. I absolutely, I go nuts for it. But maybe other people would say, oh no, that's ruined my painting. So everybody has a different approach and a different love and a different passion. So find your passion, find your love. Okay? When you're painting, when you're doing whatever you're doing with your picture, start to think about, do I want more texture in it? Do I want more smooth? Do I want it more flat? Do I want it more blotchy? What do you want from it? What makes you happy? And if you're happy, every time you look at one of your paintings, you will say, I'm a genius. I'm a master. I'm in love with it. Oh, I should do more painting. Oh, I should do more drawing. So, thank you very, 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 very much for watching part 2. And I hope to see you come back again. I hope I'll see you again very, very soon on some of my videos. Thank you very much for watching. See you again soon. Well, it's still wet at the moment, but it hasn't really dried. But I thought I'd give you a little bit of a close-up of some of the textures and some, look at that. You see how smooth it is here and then how grainy and blotchy it is there. Over onto his stomach, look at all that. And it hasn't dried yet. So, and there's some of the yellows that we brought in. Look at that, it's fabulous. And there's these big snarly teeth. Look at those. And that, look at that hair that came through. Oh, so beautiful. And there's the sky. Look at all that. Oh, with my eco line and some paint. Absolutely gorgeous. Thank you so much for watching. And come back again soon. Bye-bye.